Turn the lights on. Turn them way down.
1959, Escambray Mountains, Cuba. William Morgan, in this press photo, posing with a Thompson submachine gun, aka Tommy gun, a signature weapon of that era, appearing in numerous publications, including the New York Times and Associated Press. Taken shortly after the Battle of Santa Clara, which transformed the rebel leader into a national hero in status of Yankee Commandant. AI gives a lot of reasons why these photos look composited. Shadows, high contrast, background, direction of gaze. With the strongest evidence against a composite is its documented history. But it really wouldn't matter, since they're all compromised crisis actors anyway, in a scripted simulation. Leading to one of the most legendary moments of the battle, then dictator Batista sent an armored train, Tren Blindado in Spanish, filled with 400 soldiers, massive amounts of ammunition, and heavy weaponry to defenses in the east. Rebel Che Guevara and his men used a bulldozer to rip up the railway tracks. When the train derailed, in a high-risk, high-reward tactic, the rebels attacked with the Molotov cocktails. The heat inside the steel cars became unbearable, and the soldiers surrendered, yet the munitions stayed intact. The capture of this train provided the rebels with a massive arsenal used to finish taking the city. While Che was effectively taking the center of the island, Morgan was securing the Escambray region to the south. Once the news reached Batista during his New Year's Eve party, he boarded a plane and fled to the Dominican Republic. If you visit Santa Clara today, the Tren Blindado remains a major national monument. The bulldozer used to derail the train is still there, and the derailed boxcars serve as a museum. This battle is the reason why Che Guevara is buried in Santa Clara today. His massive mausoleum and monument overlook the city he conquered. All indicators of simulated history. This photo shows the leadership of the Second National Front, Morgan and Menoyo, meeting with Fidel Castro in Havana. While they are smiling or talking here, in the coming years, tensions would spike as Castro moved toward communism. March 1960. The French freighter Le Coubre explodes in the harbor of Havana while unloading 76 tons of grenades and munitions. Fidel Castro blames the United States CIA and begins massive arms purchases from the Soviet bloc and cracks down on internal dissent. The meeting between Fidel Castro and Malcom X on September 1960 is one of the most iconic moments in the Cold War, representing a convergence of international revolutionary and civil rights figures, occurring just months after the Le Coubre explosion and shortly before the arrest of Morgan. It takes place at the Hotel Teresa in Harlem, New York, during Castro's visit to the United Nations General Assembly. Originally, the Cuban delegation stayed at the Midtown Shelbourne Hotel, but after management demanded a $10,000 cash bond and complained about the Cubans' behavior, Castro threatened to sleep in Central Park. Malcom X and the Fair Play for Cuba Committee invited Castro to Harlem instead. By moving to a black-owned hotel in a segregated neighborhood, Castro made a powerful symbolic statement against American racism and imperialism. Malcom X famously told Castro, quote, As long as you are against a system that is against us, we are for you. October 1960, William Morgan is arrested, suspected of being a part of the growing underground resistance that the CIA hopes to use during the upcoming invasion. March 1961, William Morgan is executed, the Cuban government clearing the deck of high-profile internal threats and former allies who might lead a rebellion from within during the US-backed landing. April 1961, the Bay of Pigs. The invasion by a CIA-trained Brigade 2506 failed spectacularly to overthrow Castro's regime. On the eve of the invasion, Castro officially declared the socialist nature of the revolution for the first time. 1961, Havana, Cuba. Just 3 months after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion, Gagarin's post-flight world tour. After becoming the first human to journey into outer space, orbiting the Earth in the Vostok 1 spacecraft. Castro's hug with Gagarin, signaling Cuba was now firmly in the Soviet orbit and protected by their, quote, space-age superpower status. Gagarin later served as the head of Soviet-Cuban Friendship Society from '64 until his purported death in '68, which happened to be just 1 year before Apollo 11, the manned moon landing mission in which I claim Gagarin came back as Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon.
Мы приобрели и имеем в Англии очень много друзей. Это подтверждает те теплые дружеские встречи, которые мы имели с народом на улице и которые мы имели с представителями деловых кругов на самых различных встречах.
The Cuban Missile Crisis, October 1962. The 13-day nuclear standoff over Soviet missiles placed in Cuba, widely considered the closest the Cold War came to escalating into a full-scale nuclear war hoax. A breathtaking breaking point that almost destroyed the world. Now how do you like them apples, Internet friends? November 22nd, 1963. John F. Kennedy fakes his assassination. The man who filmed it, Abraham Zapruder, was a Jew. The blurry film cuts to a dummy JFK with exploding head moulage. Because the scapegoat lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, was a self-proclaimed Marxist and had Cuban connections, Castro became a focus of pretend investigations. Some planted conspiracy theories suggest Castro ordered the hit in retaliation for CIA assassination plots against him, like the exploding cigars or poison diving suits. Others suggest anti-Castro exiles did it because they felt betrayed by JFK's lack of support in the Bay of Pigs invasion, and they thought he was soft on communism. 4 years later, Che would be executed in a CIA operation, pictured here after allegedly being shot 9 times. Then 14 years after JFK's fake assassination, I claim the actor who played JFK would again be elected as U.S. President in 1977 as Jimmy Carter.
Who fought world wars and who carved out a new charter of peace for the world. We ourselves are the same Americans who just 10 years ago put a man on the moon. We are the generation that dedicated our society to the pursuit of human rights.
In any case, It's all hogwash, simulated scripted history, and if you've seen some of my other videos, I think you know where I'm going with all of this.
Am I going to hate to the people of the United States? I don't hate anybody, including my enemies. Those who has been my strong enemy in Cuba, I don't hate them. Marty, our apostle, taught us not to hate. To the public, to the people of the United States, sincerely. But I think about the citizens of the United States that they are very nice and noble people. I see in Cuba, I see here, you are young boys, girls, newspaper, reporters, doctors, everybody really nice people. That is my impression. If I would think in other way, you can be sure I would say here.
1961, the year of Morgan's execution. Fidel hugging Yuri Gagarin. The Bay of Pigs invasion. Jim Morrison's high school picture. Something's up here. The height, width, aspect, color, direction. 1963, the year JFK fakes his assassination. 1 year after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Tallahassee, Florida. Pretend mugshot of 19-year-old Florida State University student Jim Morrison. Purportedly arrested at a football game with Georgia. Charged with petty larceny for stealing a policeman's helmet and belt. Disturbing the peace. Resisting arrest. Public drunkenness. A glimpse into Morrison's rebellious streak. Purportedly. Doesn't it look like this image was composited in this next photo? 1964 Navy Air Station, San Diego, California. The side hair and expression are the same. Jim and his father, George, aboard the aircraft carrier USS Homme Richard, one of several ships in history to carry that name. Bonhomme, French, for good man, paying tribute to Benjamin Franklin, and the yearly pamphlet Poor Richard's Almanac, published mid-1700s under Franklin's pen name Richard Saunders. The Almanac promoted frugality, hard work, and common sense, shaping American social norms of behavior. Like most almanacs of the era, it was a one-stop shop for information with meteorological predictions, weather forecasts to help farmers plan their crops, astronomical data, sunsets, sunrises, moon phases, and tide tables, practical advice, tips on agriculture, medical remedies like curing heartburn and home maintenance, entertainment, puzzles, poems, and satirical stories, and the famous maxims, most of which taken from ancient wisdom. Maxim, a short, pithy statement expressing a general truth or rule of conduct. Some you likely still hear today. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. A rolling stone gathers no moss. God helps them that help themselves. Using the persona of Poor Richard, a humble, slightly eccentric man allowed Franklin to give advice without sounding like he was lecturing his readers. Though he was indeed rich and lecturing his readers, and probably a fabricated persona himself who invented getting hit by lightning. And the ship's name, Bonhomme Richard, probably secretly refers to something different entirely. Perhaps another sick inside joke, another way to get the Goyim to worship the seeds of their own destruction. Jim's father had taken command of the ship on November 22nd, 1963, the same day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Then, shortly after this photo, set out to the Pacific as commander of the U.S. Naval Forces to take part in the Gulf of Tonkin incident, a pivotal event that led to the escalation of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War and the draft. Conscription, also known as the draft in American English, is the practice in which enlistment in a national service, mainly a military service, is compulsory, meaning enforced by law. Conscription dates back to antiquity, and it continues in some countries to the present day. Examples of universal compulsory service, where all eligible men, and in some countries women, are required to perform military service, are Finland, Israel, South Korea. In the early 2000s, Norway and Sweden became the first nations to conscript women on the same legal terms as men. Israel has universal female conscription and has a similar percentage of female conscription to male. About this time, Jim was transitioning his studies from Florida State University to UCLA Film School in California, where he would meet Ray Manzarek and form The Doors. After graduating UCLA, Jim became eligible for the draft. By some accounts, by acting weird, drugging himself, and pretending to be gay during his medical and psych evaluations, was eventually classified 4F, unfit for military service. Then, adopting his Lizard King theatrics to ensure he never had to fight in the war his father helped start. 1967, then after the release of the self-titled debut album, The Doors, considered one of the greatest albums in rock history, transforming Jim Morrison into a world-famous rock star. His father, George, was promoted to Rear Admiral at age 47, one of the youngest officers in Navy history to achieve that rank.